Folks, I don't know if you're like me or not, but have you been outside lately? You know, we went through a spell there for a while to where one day it's in the 40s, one day it balloons up to the 60s, then in the 40s, then the 60s, then it might dip in the 30s and get back to the 60s. Well, guess what? Those days are done. We're coming up on summertime now, and maybe you've noticed that it's not quite as comfortable in your house, in your office as you'd like it to be. Time to call in a professional. Don't sweat, pun intended. We have a professional with us today, Minuteman Heating and Air. He's been with us before. Great interview with a lot of information. Roger Witham, welcome back to All In. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Well, you know, I remember a lot about you from the last interview, but one thing that really stuck out to me, we'll get to the AC part here in a minute. You raise longhorns. What a hobby to have. Big old longhorns. And I was trying to tell a friend of mine how big these horns got. What's the biggest one you have as far as the distance on their horns?
The biggest one I've got is just over 8 feet.
8 feet. See, that's what I said. I told you. I'll get with him later, Roger, and I'll split with you whatever I win. All right, back to the AC business. So we are getting to the time of year to where people are starting to realize, you know, something's not right. It's not as cool as I want. Is your phone just ringing off the hook?
Yes, sir. We're very busy.
Well, and as I mentioned there on the talk, you don't just do residence. You don't just do commercial. You also do new construction. You kind of do it all. So is one thing busier than the other right now, or are they all just exploding?
I would say as an industry as a whole, it's all very busy, but the residences are what's really moving right now.
Well, it is because frankly, a lot of the businesses aren't open right now. So
and everybody's at home right now.
There's a lot of people that are home during the daytime that have never been home during the daytime before. And for starters, those fancy thermostats they had to reset them because now they need to cool down the house during the daytime hours where maybe they didn't before. So
we do take a lot of phone calls for that.
Let's talk about that for a sec, Raj. You've been doing this business, not with Minuteman, but in your life for 38 years. We touched on this briefly last time you were here, but remind this guy how many things have changed in the last 38 years, in technologically speaking.
I mean, our industry is always changing. From thermostats, now you have Wi-Fi thermostats that have geofencing. You have... Most of us have single-speed air conditioners, what we've known all of our lives, and the two-speed air conditioners came out, and now variable-speed air conditioners, humidity control, indoor air quality, UV lights, MERV 16 filters.
See, that's what I'm talking about. There's always things changing. Even a man that's been doing it for 38 years, at least he's smart enough to keep up with it, and that's the beauty of it. I don't have to keep up with it. All I need to keep up with is your phone number. Or your email address.
Right.
And I know that you're going to take care of me. And you also are the type of guy we learned last time. You realize every situation is different. And when you first meet with a customer or a potential customer, you do a whole lot more listening than you do talking, don't you? Why is that so important?
Well, because every home and every family's needs are different, from budgets to comfort to expectations. And just like vehicles, we don't all drive the same cars or trucks. We all have different needs, and everybody's needs on their air conditioning systems and their indoor air quality is different as well. And you can't do a good job helping a customer if you don't first listen to their needs.
You got in any business, not just yours, but in any businesses general, folks. Listen first, talk second. You already have the information, but you don't need to give everybody everything you know because frankly they don't need it. They need stuff to fix their situation, and that's why Roger's exactly right. You need to listen to ascertain what their situation is, and then you give them the information they need. All right? I know information this guy needs. I just had a personal issue, but I understand it's more common than not, to where if you have a unit up in your attic and the drain clogs up, it could be a big issue. I went through this. It leaked through the ceiling. Now I've got to replace sheetrock and everything else. At Minuteman, do you guys offer maintenance agreements to where you'll come out periodically through the year to keep up with stuff like that before it happens?
Yes, sir. Most good air conditioning companies will have a planned maintenance agreement. Ours is called a Patriot Plan, and we come out twice a year, one in the fall and one in the spring, and we do things like clean that drain line out so that you don't have those problems, because an overflowing drain can cost you a lot of money in sheetrock and any kind of, if it gets your bed wet, your wooden floors wet, the piano wet, whatever is underneath it.
Well, whatever's underneath it is doomed.
Very costly.
And it's one of those things, yeah, it's very costly at the end, but it's the whole tried and true pay me now or pay me later thing. And if I'd had you out there before this thing clogged up, I never would have known anything about it. It never would have clogged. Same thing to their back, Roger. We talked last time, all those little fuzzy things are starting to float around again out there. They're clogging up everything. Remind us what we as consumers can do to kind of take care of some things on our own before we need to call in the pros like yourself.
Well, you just touched on it there. That cottonwood is really blooming and it's everywhere, and it's a condensing unit's worst enemy. You've got to be able to pull air across those coils out there to get to cool properly. And it doesn't take a lot to use a water hose and spray that out and keep those clean. If you can reach it, but you need to be safe. Make sure you turn off the electricity to it. But outside of that, it's really simple.
Well, it is. I've done that before.
And the biggest thing is keep your filters clean.
Keep the filters clean. I told you last time you were real happy for me because I changed my filters and write the date with a Sharpie on the filter, so I remember when I did it. How about that?
That's good. Most people don't do that. Some people don't even know they have a filter in their socks. You pull it out and show them how dirty it is.
It's like the people that buy a new car and then the engine blows up and they said, "Did you put any oil in it?" And they said, "It had oil in it when I bought it." You got to keep up with it, or it's the whole pay me now or pay me later thing. I did learn one thing, though, personally this week. I had no idea that there's coils on the unit up in my attic that need to be cleaned, too. Now, that's something that a pro needs to take care of, right?
Yes, those are your evaporator coils, and that's what actually gets cold and makes your air. When the air goes across it, that's what makes the air cold. And if it gets clogged up and dirty, and they do tend to do that over time, and especially if you don't change your filter regularly, you just won't cool properly. You end up, your coils go bad, get leaks in them. You end up with a bunch of crud in your drain pan, which is helps cause those drain lines to overflow.
Well, there's just so many moving parts, if you will, and some of them aren't moving. They're just sitting there doing their job. But if they're going to do their job properly, they better be installed properly. But it all starts, you need to make sure, back to listening, you listen to people to see what they need because you know what they need. And then you're going to get into financing or what they can afford, how they're going to use the house. We learned last time, is this a house you're going to stay in forever? Is this a house you're looking to flip and sell? There's all sorts of parameters that figure into it. And it's so refreshing to have a guy like yourself and a company like Minuteman that isn't just trying to cram the square peg into the round hole and convince people this is what you need, take it. You're going to listen and take care of them and let them know that you have their best interests at heart. Moving over to the commercial side too, you got those big boy things up there. You guys can not only install those, do you do the maintenance type things on those as well, or do places do that in-house, depending on the company, I guess?
The larger companies will have a maintenance team that does a lot of that, but no, we can do preventative maintenance on most small commercial buildings. Change filters, clean coils. We change out rooftop units. Work with cranes. I've worked with helicopters to get units on and off of roofs before.
Oh, you've really done that? I've actually seen that. I used to work in downtown Fort Worth. We'd see that more than once. It's pretty impressive. Nice to talk to somebody that's actually done it before.
It's pretty neat experience.
Well, it's a neat experience, but it doesn't matter if you're bringing one in with a helicopter or you're putting one up in this guy's attic. It's going to be done right, and it's just neat. I was going to say it's cool. No pun intended, but actually it is cool to see that you're able to do that. So we're coming out of COVID-19. The home offices are going to be shutting down. The other offices are going to be cranking back up. Are you ready to roll?
Oh, our guys are working at it 6 days a week. So we really haven't slowed down much for this. A lot of people have been home, and they realize what's going on with their air conditioners and stuff like that a lot because they're home more of the day. And yes, we haven't slowed down at all. Well,
you haven't slowed down a bit. We were joking earlier. It's no joke. You guys are essential. Roger Witham, everybody. Minuteman Heating and Air back with us again. Thank you, Roger. Always great information. We'll see you next time.